How you doing, everybody? I work in national accounts. My name's Steve Crow, and I've got a little story to tell. So if I go long, you just have to give me the hook sign because it's a long story. But I woke up this morning and I got this text from this gentleman that is fairly religious, and a lot of things have been happening to me that's weird since I took this trip to Alaska to visit one of our partners, which is Trident Seafoods. And so he sent me this text this morning at 5:43 a.m. It says, "It's better to be silent and thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." I looked at that and I went, "Are you kidding me? Today of all days, really?" And then I was out to lunch with Stephanie Kesterson and that's no lie, that came in this morning. I was out to lunch with Stephanie Kesterson last week at the Salmon Canners meeting, and I got this. It's out of my fortune cookie. It says, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters. Do a good job." And so my sister would say after this trip that I took to Alaska, which I kind of consider to be somewhat spiritual, you'll know why I'm in it. My sister says God is chasing you, so it's just been kind of one of those couple of weeks for me. So Marlene has some slides to show, but I'll just really quickly tell you that I take care of Trident Seafoods. They operate a bunch of shore plants, probably 15 or 20 of them, where they process fish. And then we also sell to their ships. And I was invited to go up to Akutan, which is Dutch Harbor, and then an airplane ride away from Dutch Harbor, which is about 20 minutes. And I decided what the heck I would go. I took some advice from Stephanie Kesterson, thank you, and from Christy Love, because they work in the Marine Division, and this is new business for me. Unfortunately, I didn't really listen to their advice, so I went to Trident Seafoods. I flew into Alaska. I got to Alaska. My plane flight to Dutch Harbor was delayed. I got kicked off about 2 or 3 flights. I finally got on a flight at 3 p.m. And so if you fly into Dutch Harbor, has anybody been to Dutch Harbor before? So you know what I'm talking about. So you fly into Dutch Harbor, they won't land if the winds are over 40 miles an hour. So I got bumped off a bunch of flights. My luggage was on a flight that left before me, so when I finally landed in Dutch Harbor, which I was the last flight to land in Dutch Harbor, my luggage wasn't there. So that's that picture of me going, okay, I got no luggage, okay? So I got no luggage, I got no change of clothes, I got no pills, which I need for my heart. And I'm in Dutch Harbor, and I'm stuck in Dutch Harbor for 2 days, 65 mile an hour winds. And you want to know how cold it was?
How cold was it?
The coldest day was 9 degrees. So 9 degrees. So I'm going to tell this story fast. So if you have any questions, just ask me. But I'm being helped by the shore plant manager or the bunkhouse manager for Trident, and I'm either going to take a plane or a ship to Akutan, which is a 4-hour boat ride or a 20-minute plane ride. And I called Candy because I was pretty nervous. I mean, it's like, I don't have a hotel room. I don't have internet service, and Stephanie told me what to do. But when my luggage wasn't there and people were rushing out of the airport to go get hotel rooms, I've got to stay there to try to find my luggage. So I'm worried that I'm not going to get a hotel room. I did get a hotel room. I was stuck in Dutch Harbor for two days, and then I got a refund on the plane flight that I was going to take to Akutan, which was $100 because the bunkhouse manager said, if you want to take the ship, you can take the ship. I was really worried because I've never been on a ship like that before, and the day before there was 30-foot seas, and so I was worried about getting sick, number one, but they took me downstairs with all the Trident folks, and the Trident folks are people that are moving to and from Trident Akutan that process fish at their plant. We sell food to them in the tune of about $60,000 to $90,000 a week in containers. We send food up to them, right? So I'm going up there to see the process from start to finish, the whole supply chain. So I decide to get on the boat. I get on the boat. The guy, really hard ass, he's like, all you people down here, we're in this room. There's no windows. It's dark. There's a TV monitor. He's going to put a movie in. He says, it's going to be 4 hours. If you get sick, just use this bag. We got a whole bunch of them, so don't worry. If you get sick, just get sick. And then he goes, I'm going to put in a movie. And I'm like going, oh my God, don't pick the accountant. Don't pick the accountant. I just watched that damn movie. And what's he do? He picks the accountant. And he puts the accountant in. So I'm downstairs in this boat, 4-hour boat ride, get to Trident Seafoods. We land at Trident Seafoods. And as soon as we get to Trident Seafoods, we find out there's been a plane crash in Dutch Harbor. And the gentleman died in the plane crash. So the airport is closed. I was going to go to Akutan because I was stuck in Dutch Harbor for 2 days, turn around the next morning, go right back to Dutch Harbor and fly home on Friday like I planned to do, and just not waste the trip, just at least get to Accutan for 10 hours. But now I can't go back to Dutch Harbor because the airport's closed, and the airport remains closed today for commercial flights. So the only thing flying in and out of Dutch Harbor is but chartered flights, basically. So I decided to stay at Accutan, and when I decided to stay at Accutan, I was really nervous about the fact that they had a lot of things to worry about. They got 1,000 people there cutting fish. Their visas are expiring. They need to get them out of the country. Now I'm there, and they got to pay attention to me, and it was something that I thought, I just didn't feel comfortable. So I called Candy and I said, hey, I'm going to be here for a while, but I don't think I should be. I think I should just get out of here as soon as I can, get back to Dutch Harbor. And so I was feeling pretty nervous about it. So I penned this letter and sent it to my group. I guess it would be what you would consider to be like a chatter post. I sent this letter to my group after I was in Dutch Harbor for 3 nights, because I ended up being in Accutan. I ended up being at the plant for 4 nights. So I was supposed to come home on Friday, and I got home Wednesday morning at 2:30. And so I'm going to read you the letter, which I haven't read to a lot of people, but I'm just going to read you the letter that I sent to them. This was to my group. And this was me sitting in this spot in the cafeteria, which I love sitting up front. I love being in the middle of the action, so I sat up front all the time. And this is the letter I sent. I'm making the best of my extended stay in Accutan at Trident. The plane crash in Dutch Harbor on Thursday occurred when I was traveling by boat, the Trident Sea Trader, to Accutan. It was a 4-hour ride in somewhat turbulent weather, and I was nervous as hell about getting sick. I made it through without much distress. The storm whipped through here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and delayed my 20-minute flight to Accutan by several days. I decided to jump on a boat and got my flight credited back. Luckily, both departure points were from the same staging area at the airport, which is where Trident keeps all their people at the airport all day long, waiting to see where they're going to go and how they're going to get there. When they cleared the boat to go, I jumped on board, not knowing if the plane would actually fly or not, and my return was going to be the very next morning at 6 a.m. on the same boat. But when we arrived in Accutan, the news of the plane crash had been circulating, and the airport remains closed still today. This was Sunday when I sent this. I was worried about overstaying my welcome. At that point, it really started to bother me. I talked to Candy on the phone. She listened to my concerns and advised me. I was thinking that they had a lot to worry about. So it's Sunday morning, it's 9 a.m., and it's still dark outside. And I'm doing well in a warm bed with a place to sleep and lots of Cisco food to eat. Internet service is great in the morning, but sometimes fades later in the day. The AS400 is off and on. My email is actually good, and the connection is good. I'm not home where it's comfortable, but I'm missing the Hawks game today, which Trevor and I had tickets to, and I have no TV in my room. It could be worse, right? And so I said, here's what I'm doing. I'm learning as much as I can about the plant, looking at all the storage areas, redoing order guides, helping to serve and make 4 meals a day for 1,000 people. I'm being a good listener. I'm reminded by the guy who does the floors 4 times a day that he knows best how to clean floors and make the boss man happy. I'm being told by the fryer cook how to temp brats coming out of the fryer, and he knows best how to do it. I'm singing in the kitchen when my favorite song comes on. I'm enjoying my experience and making the best of my new relationships. I'm storing all the information for the right people at the right time, but for now, I'm not blending in, but making the best of my trip for them, so that all they say in the future is, it was really great to have the Cisco boss man here. And then that's just the kitchen. The work never stops, whether it's a kitchen or anything else. Joy to the world, and the guy who mops the floor with pride. As I sit here, I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of who I work for. I'm thankful for what I have at home and the people who I have touched thus far. I am humble. And the reason I say that is because these people fly into this plant and they work there for 5 or 6 months. They pay $15 a day. They eat 4 meals a day. They work for 15 or 16 hours a day cutting fish. 3 million pounds a day they produce out of this plant. They're from the Ukraine, the Dominican Republic, from Somalia. And it was just really touching, to be there and be around them all the time. And this one little gentleman in particular who would come every day, and he just walked, he got his tray, he sat down, took 2 hours to eat, I swear to God. Every day he just ate, and he stayed there for a long period of time. But when I wrote that letter, I was really feeling pretty touched, because you can't, I mean, I can make a phone call home, but it would just cut off, and you make another phone, cuts off, But my son interviewed for a job while I was gone, and we missed the Seahawks game, and I, missed being in my warm bed, and I missed my favorite TV shows for 4 days. But being there in a room with no TV and no music, my laptop, work, just a chance to have a relationship with people I've never had a relationship before. It was really pretty spiritual as far as I was concerned. And the last thing that happened to me when I came back was I met this gentleman here named Ramon, and we started talking about life and things. And I really feel like, for me personally, it changed my life. I know that's a lot to say, but it doesn't matter how much or how little, but I feel like it changed my life. And he said to me, he started talking about scripture, because he was religious and I had no idea, and he said, this comes from Ezekiel. And I thought he said Elysian, but then I realized that's a beer. So Elysian's a beer, it's not a Bible thing, right? So he said, this is what he said to me. And then he looked up on his phone and read the whole thing, but he said, put off what is old, behold what is new, or put on what is new. And I really feel like, just some of my outlook in life, whether it's personal or work, was just changed by this experience. So put off what is old, behold what is new. And maybe that's a sign for Cisco Seattle. It certainly was a sign for me because of our recent success and how hard you're working for TRS business. But I want to say congratulations, number one. But the trip was amazing, and a few points in terms of just my own knowledge was, number one, I'm thankful for everything I have. I mean, I'm not saying this to you because I have a sales message for you. I'm saying this for myself, I'm thankful for everything I have because of what I saw up there. Be a good listener. It's good to know a lot of things, but you don't always need to know everything, like how to sweep and mop a floor when you're helping a guy that sweeps and mops the floor, or how to help a guy cook brats in a fryer when he's telling you, no, the chef wants them 160 degrees. I said, they're going to finish them in the oven. They don't need to make them 160 degrees. He cooked like 40 pounds of brats in the fryer. They were pure black because he was trying to get them to 160 degrees. And I just let him go, and finally the chef came up and said, dude, you gotta, what are you doing? I told her to finish them in the oven. I didn't say a word, But the funny thing is that Candy is texting me one day, and I'm literally in a staff meeting with the superintendent of the plant and 30 other guys that are talking about 50,000 pounds of fish coming in tomorrow, who's going to handle it, this and that. And then Philip, because they introduced me as the food guy, Philip goes, damn, those brats were good yesterday, weren't they? And that's a true story. So the cool thing about working for Cisco and being proud about working for Cisco is food is universal. Anybody that I told that I worked for Cisco, they said something like, man, those assorted cheesecakes you guys sell are awesome. It's like, I had a lot of conversations like that. Hard work creates good luck. So I went to the airport in Dutch Harbor. I mean, I did take the boat back to Accutan at from Accutan back to Dutch Harbor at 3 in the morning on Monday. They said I wasn't flying. The airport wasn't open. On Tuesday, I'd already been told I wasn't flying. I got all my stuff packed in case something's going to happen, right? So I'm back in Dutch Harbor, and I thought, I'm going to work till 11:30, and I'm going to go to the airport, and I'm going to buy Johnny from Trident lunch, because he treated me so well the Thursday before when I was in Dutch Harbor, before I went to Accutan. So I go there, and I start looking for him. I can't find him. I sit down and have lunch. I turn around. He's right there. He was one of the first people at the plane crash, when the plane crashed, because he's always at the airport. And the propeller broke off the plane, went through the fuselage, critically injured 2 people, and one gentleman from Seattle, 35 years old, passed away. So I said, you got post-traumatic stress, you really need to, just talk about it. If you want me to sit with you, I will, you need to share your story. And he said, no, I'll be fine. I said, okay, well, I'm not going to bother you. So I continued with my lunch, and he goes, I'm going to go make a phone call. So he goes, makes a phone call. He comes back 10 minutes later, and I know this is a long story, but he comes back 10 minutes later, and he says, stop eating, go to the hotel, get your luggage, and then come right back here. And he flips the keys to this kid who's Hispanic. He's been cutting fish in Accutan for 6 months. I know he doesn't have a driver's license. We drove from the airport, which is 2 miles, to the hotel. I swear he went 7 miles an hour the whole way. I mean, it's like, unbelievable. I get my luggage, I go back to the airport, and I'm sitting there, and I waited for 4 hours, and that's when I met Ramon. And then I looked up, and Johnny went, and I said, and he said, yeah, go. And I grabbed my bags, and I left. And I got on a plane with 16 people, flew out of Dutch Harbor, paid for by Trident, and got back to Anchorage, and then got a 10 o'clock flight and that night back to Seattle and landed at 2:30 in the morning. And I'm just telling you, it changed my life. And so my last couple of messages are, our customers really care about us. They really do. When we do the right things and we work hard for them, they take care of us. And when he went, go ahead, I mean, I was like, really? I mean, because I'm taking somebody else's seat is what I'm thinking. But the airport was open for not commercial flights, but it was only open for the flights that Trident was paying for to get people out of the country. So that seat was probably worth $1,500. I'm thinking they never billed us for it at all. So, and then lastly, if you're sitting outside a prospect and you've got a plan, or a customer warm calling, you got a plan, and you're second guessing yourself, don't do it. They need us, they like us, and we can do good things for them. So my own notes for myself is, don't ever fly again 2,200 miles to Anchorage, 1,200 miles to Dutch Harbor, and then take a 4-hour boat ride to Akutan and think that I can't help or blend in or work with a customer and make a difference. So that's my story.
Wow.